Once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, you are now tuned into the Investor Show. As always, this is your gracious host, the Prince of Investing, Prince Dice, coming to you guys and girls live all the way for the first time ever, Detroit, Michigan. So, y'all seen this guest before here on my show. One of my mentors. I read his first book. I haven't got a chance to read the second book yet, but he is here live with us at his hotel. We're right here on the Detroit Riverwalk, you know, right here, beautiful day out. So of course he wanted to come outside here of one of his hotels that's downtown on the Riverwalk. So we're here at the Riverwalk's Urban Resort. But without further ado, let me introduce my guest, Mr. Michael B. Roberts. How you doing today, sir?
Very nice, thank you. Good to be here. Glad you're here.
Oh, you glad? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a couple of years, right?
It has.
It's been a couple of years. The last time it was down in Miami.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So now we've made it around into Detroit, Michigan. Detroit for my first ever time. Went out to I saw the Motown Museum, the MGMs, and, a couple of the sites. Even went up to Birmingham and things like that.
Oh, good.
Okay, so now I want to ask you this question. Looking at this, coming out of this crazy 2020. Right? And this ever-changing world, right? So when you look at the world that you've done into real estate, right? We're here at your hotel. How has COVID impacted your hotel and the hotel business itself?
I think it's a great question and one to start with. Of course, let me back up to determine for the audience why a hotel and why in Detroit, for example. When I'm from St. Louis, and although I've owned hotels mostly always in the South and the Midwest, I bought this hotel in 2010, right before the city was going into bankruptcy. The previous mayor was going to jail, and the auto industry was in a major downturn. So statistically and strategically, I looked at Detroit with these eyes. Basically, I said, I don't believe that America is going to let one of its primarily largest cities go to seed. Therefore, let me invest when it's more affordable for me to invest in a major city like Detroit. Now, 11 years later, Detroit has seen a tremendous renaissance. It's been new businesses are starting up, more tech-related businesses. The automobile industry is booming.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2020, when COVID-19 came along, it affected all of us. It affected the growth of the city. It affected the growth of America for all practical purposes. We were shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the hotel industry, when you have things like restaurants and bars that are mandated to close, and you have a hotel where there's nobody traveling, I had to consider how to pivot. As an entrepreneur and one who has, been engaged in a number of businesses, fighting through the '08 recession and so many more, I just decided, well, I'm going to, shore up my asset. I'm going to make sure that the property is where there may have needed tremendous increases in capital improvements. I did that. I got involved with what's called the PACE program. So I was able to put just under $5 million of investment back into the hotel, so that all of this was, and really a lot of this was ready to go when 2020 hit. But I continued with that mindset to continue to improve the property, use some of the resources that government was beginning to provide for entrepreneurs. They had the PPP money, you are aware of that. They had other low interest loans that are available. So, we had to move strategically within those parameters and use those resources. I continue to research all the grants, all the available funds that are available to us as business people who are virtually out of business for all practical purposes, not having any business, I should say, and survived through that. So now, as it's beginning to turn around, I think that by 2022, with people, we can see it now. People are really busting out. They're trying to travel. They're trying to get around. They're trying to do things, and so believe that the hospitality industry will experience a interesting boom within the next 24 months.
Okay. Now, one thing I wanted to hit on, right? And it's something that I've kind of, maybe I'm off, I know you way more experience than I do, right? Than I have alive. So, the difference between small business and big business, that's one of the things that I've seen in your stories, right? Where usually we will see, of course, I went down 7 Mile down there in Detroit, here in Detroit, and you see a lot of us that says, hey, I have some money, and we may go lease a place and start a small business. How is it that you buy multiple buildings? Here, this property, 108 rooms, right? And you're talking about the Victor Roberts building down in St. Louis, and it goes on.
Yeah.
What makes it different from somebody doing small business to big business?
Well, a small business is really a microcosm reflecting the big business. So if you approach it where there's more of a mindset to suggest there's no limits on what you can do, then generally there's no limits on what you can do. I said this the other day in a speech, that if you look at something that you've always seen, but you look at it differently, then the very same thing can have a different outcome. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what happens then is, in business, if we are concerned and considering, what's happening with the economy, sometimes those difficult moments, if you will, can be some of the most opportunistic moments for entrepreneurs, especially those of us who are in the African American community, where we don't have a lot of breaks, or we don't have a lot of information as to where the deals are and things of that nature. By us being able to move strategically and sometimes politically have conversations with people who are in the know in a given city, that's when you begin to identify your opportunities. So if you have more than one opportunity and you can find ways to finance those opportunities, then take them on. You've got to, of course, build a infrastructure within your company to support it. Good accounting, what we call back of the office type support. Now, one of the challenges that most of us are facing now as we come out of the 2020 scenario is finding employees prepared to work. We've seen so many folks who have been receiving government assistance and continue to, and sometimes making more money or receiving more money and doing nothing than working. So I think what we have to look at in the economy moving into 2022 is, are we going to be able to find the types of employees at the labor rate that one needs to exist as a business person, and then bring them in and train them and keep them interested, because a lot of folks have fallen asleep for a whole year.
Now, I have to ask you this question. I'm glad you brought up that about the wages and unemployment and people are not working, right? So when I ask you this question, do you believe we have a labor shortage, or do you think that it's a pay issue? That, hey, the wages are so low that some people don't like to, that people say, hey, I would rather stay at home. So you think it's a wage, maybe wages are too low, or do you think it really is a labor shortage? Because I seen, out in Denver, I saw a sign where McDonald's was, starting at $18. I thought that was ridiculous, right? So do you believe it's just that, hey, why do we have this labor shortage? Is that people are receiving unemployment? You especially being in hospitality.
Yes.
That was the major hit industry. Now
Right.
you're coming back out of it.
Right.
You're very relied upon having those type of workers.
Well, there's no question. Those people haven't gone anywhere. they're not. It's not a labor shortage. It's an attitude shortage. It's a lack of mindset to have people to get away from receiving free money from the government and choosing to work and build a some type of both a reputation as well as an income that can support their family. I think that it's been sort of a lull to sleep type attitude that's going to have a rude awakening as these government subsidies dry up. We're going to see it in housing. I own a couple of city blocks in downtown St. Louis where I've converted old warehouse and office buildings into residential. And, I've seen some people falling behind in their rents. Then you had the moratorium, so landlords couldn't evict. Well, that moratorium is going to be lifted at some point soon. And there'll be people who will not have a place to live. And then they're going to have to go to work. Because if the government subsidy drops, they are behind in their rents, and landlords make the decision that we have to find somebody willing to pay. Because after all, the landlords, people want to make them bad guys, but the reality is the utility bills continue to mount up and grow. Real estate taxes continue to hit. The debt service has to be addressed. All of these things have to be addressed for people who have these properties that are being rented out. And so, it becomes a very difficult, almost a catch-22. Either you're going to come to work and pay for your lifestyle, or you're not going to have a lifestyle.